Habits that maintain intrusive thoughts. If you don't know who I am, my name is Albright, an ex-anxiety sufferer who uses her own experience of suffering and recovery to help others who are still struggling. In this channel, we create videos about everything concerning anxiety. Any type of anxiety disorder that you're struggling with, you are in the right place. If you have not yet subscribed yet, I would urge you to click that subscription button because it helps the channel grow. Otherwise, in this video, I want to talk about the habits that maintain intrusive thoughts. What are intrusive thoughts? Intrusive thoughts are unwanted thoughts that, pop up in your head. The worry thoughts, they can be scary, they can be repetitive, they can be sticky. They are the unwanted, distressing thoughts that pop up in your head anytime. Intrusive thoughts are a common part of anxiety. They are a symptom of anxiety, and I find that many anxiety sufferers place them on a different entity from anxiety. They belong under the anxiety umbrella because they are a symptom of anxiety. So if you struggle with intrusive thoughts, I want to talk about, in this particular video, I want to talk about the habits that maintain intrusive thoughts. You've been trying to recover from anxiety, but you still have these thoughts. Unconsciously, you are doing habits that maintain them. So that's what we want to talk about. Stay tuned up to the end of this video. So from my own experience, I want to talk about the 5 habits that maintained intrusive thoughts for me. One of the habits that maintains intrusive thoughts is constantly monitoring the thoughts. You are always checking, okay, do I have this thought? Do I have this thought? You are always checking for that specific thoughts, and that activates the brain's fear center. The brain's fear center is called the amygdala. If you are constantly monitoring a specific thought, it activates the brain's fear center, because to your brain, this thought is scary and it will keep on bringing that specific thought to your frontal lobe. The moment you show your brain that this specific thought is, it is a threat to you, you don't want it, it is distressing to you, it will keep on bringing that thought on your frontal lobe. It will keep on bringing that thought to your awareness because it wants you to do something. It wants you to take action about that thought. So stop constantly monitoring thoughts, because constantly monitoring a specific thought shows the brain that that specific thought is important. And the moment the brain notices that a specific thought is important to you, it will keep on bringing you that thought. So constantly monitoring a thought keeps you stuck with intrusive thoughts. The second thing that keeps, maintains intrusive thoughts is always distracting yourself from thoughts, which is very common. I used to doom scroll. I used to, distract myself by watching a movie. I used to distract myself by, going out to drink, because my journey also to, stopping to take alcohol is also another journey that I've not always talked about. So anytime I had this, thoughts, I used to have really bad thoughts, sexual thoughts about my morality. So I used to tend to distract myself because those were thoughts against my morals. Those were not who I was. So I kept on distracting myself, and distracting a thought, you can't distract a thought. Your brain will keep on bringing that thought to your awareness, because let's say you have distracted yourself by watching a movie or, doom scrolling. You will always be checking, am I still having that thought? Am I still having that thought? And if I tell you right now not to think of, a white rabbit, you will think of a white rabbit. So that thought that you keep on distracting yourself from, you have notified the brain that that thought is important, that thought is dangerous. It will keep on bringing that thought to your awareness. So distracting a thought will never work. You will keep on checking. You're watching a movie, but you are still in your mind like, do I still have that thought? Is that thought still there? So if you're someone who is distracting yourself from a thought, that habit is maintaining intrusive thoughts. Another habit, the third habit that maintains intrusive thoughts, is feeling guilty over specific thoughts. I've told you that I used to have, sexual thoughts, thoughts against my morals. So I used to feel like, I felt like that was not who I am. So I used to get this emotional attachment with those thoughts, because anxiety will latch on what you care about the most. If you care about your family, if you care about your spouse, your kids, your career, that's what it will latch on. It will latch on what you care about the most, and it will latch on the worst case scenarios. If you care about, your career, that's what anxiety is going to latch on. So those thoughts, I always tell people that anxious thoughts are thoughts from a tired mind. They are symptoms of a sensitized nervous system. And you arguing with them, you will never win against anxious thoughts. You will never win against intrusive thoughts, because they are thoughts of a tired mind. When I understood that intrusive thoughts were also part of anxiety, I literally never bothered fighting them, because you're fighting a losing battle. Just let them play in the background, observe them like background noise, because you will never win against intrusive thoughts. Do not feel guilty over those specific thoughts. They are not your thoughts. They are not who you are. They are simply thoughts of a tired mind, and anxiety will latch on what you care about the most. It will latch on your worst case scenario. The fourth habit that maintains intrusive thoughts is seeking certainty. You are always wanting to be certain, and in this life you can't be certain about everything. Like, you are just seated there, people are just seated like they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but anxiety wants you to be certain about everything. You're having a thought of, what if it's, what if, my blood pressure has gone high, you go and check. What if this time it's a heart attack, you seek reassurance from the doctors. What if this time it's this, you Google your symptoms. You want to be certain, and when you're doing that habit, when you're always seeking certainty, you are teaching your brain that it cannot survive on its own. It cannot be independent. And every time those what if thoughts pop up on your head, you need some external validation. You need some external reassurance. So you have sought reassurance for the last, for the last 2 months, but it's never enough. It's never enough because you have trained your brain that it cannot survive on its own, and it always needs external reassurance to survive. So seeking certainty will never help with those questions. What if thoughts are thoughts brought by anxiety? They are symptoms of anxiety, and the habit that is maintaining them is always seeking certainty over them. The fifth habit that maintains intrusive thoughts is obsessing over progress. You are always thinking, okay, do I have this thought? How am I doing today? You are constantly checking in to see if you're still struggling with those thoughts, if those thoughts are still there. This signal importance to to those thoughts, because to your brain, you have told your brain that you simply can't live a happy life with those thoughts there. You're even setting a timeline that I want to recover from these thoughts in the next 3 months, and if 3 months reach and you still have those thoughts, you get frustrated. Setting a timeline signals importance to those thoughts, because you are sending a wrong signal to the brain that really you can't continue with your life when those thoughts are still there. And that maintains intrusive thoughts, because I've told you, the moment you show your brain that a thought is important to you, it will keep on bringing that thought to your awareness. So in summary, the 5 habits that maintain intrusive thoughts: always distracting your thoughts, constantly monitoring your thoughts, obsessing over progress, feeling guilty over particular thoughts, and seeking certainty over those thoughts. If intrusive thoughts is something that you struggle with and you want to learn how to overcome them, remember, I have a coaching program where I help people overcome anxiety disorders permanently. If you are someone who feels like you don't need to figure out everything on your own, you want to collapse time, and you are really serious about your recovery, use this WhatsApp or this email to reach out to me. Otherwise, let's meet on the next video.